Daniel Spoerri is a Swiss artist and writer born in Romania. Spoerri is best known for his snare pictures, a type of assemblage or object art, in which he captures a group of objects, such as the remains of meals eaten by individuals, including the plates, silverware and glasses, all of which are fixed to the table or board, which is then displayed on a wall. He also is widely acclaimed for his book, Topographie Anécdotée du Hasard, a literary analogue to his snare pictures, in which he mapped all the objects located on his table at a particular moment, describing each with his personal recollections evoked by the object. Early life. Spoerri was born Daniel Isaac Feinstein, on March 27, 1930, in Galeari, Romania. Although his father, Isaac Feinstein, had converted to Christianity, after Romania entered the war on the side of Nazi Germany, he was arrested and killed in 1941. His mother, born Lydia Spoerri, was Swiss and was therefore able to emigrate with her family of 6 children to Switzerland in 1942. There, he was adopted by his maternal uncle and registered as Daniel Spoerri, a name he has retained. In the 1950s he was active in dance, studying classical dance with Olga Preobrazhenska and in 1954 becoming the lead dancer at the State Opera of Bern, Switzerland. He later staged several avant-garde plays including Ionesco's The Bald Soprano and Picasso's surrealist Desire Trapped by the Tail. During that period he met a number of surrealist artists, including Jean Tingley, Marcel Duchamp and Man Ray, and also a number of artists subsequently associated with the Fluxus movement, including Robert Fillier, Dieter Roth and Emmett Williams. In the late 1950s, Spoerri married Vera Mertz. Editions MAT. In 1959 Spoerri founded Editions MAT, a venture which produced and sold copies of three-dimensional constructed artworks by artists such as Marcel Duchamp, Dieter Roth, Jean Tingley and Victor Vasselli. One of the best-known works produced by Editions MAT was Man Ray's Indestructible Object. Spoerri is credited with coining the term multiples for such works. Snare pictures. In 1960, Spoerri made his first snare picture. Spoerri later explained snare pictures as follows: objects found in chance positions, in order or disorder, are fixed as they are. Only the plane is changed, since the result is called a picture. What was horizontal becomes vertical. Example: remains of a meal are fixed to the table at which the meal was consumed and the table hung on the wall. His first snare picture, Kikka's Breakfast, was created from his girlfriend's leftover breakfast. The piece is now in the collection in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. One snare picture, made in 1964, consists of the remains of a meal eaten by Marcel Duchamp. This work holds the auction price record for Spoerri, selling for $136,312 in January 2008, distantly followed by another snare picture from 1972, which sold for $44,181 in April 2008. An Anecdote Topography of Chance. In connection with a one-man show of his snare pictures at the Galerie Lawrence in Paris in 1962, Spoerri wrote his Topographie Anécdotée du Hasard. Spoerri was then living at the Hotel Carcassonne in Paris, in room number 13 on the 5th floor. To the right of the entrance door was a table which his wife Vera had painted blue. Spoerri drew on a Euro map the overlapping outlines of all the 80 objects that were lying on the table on October 17, 1961 at exactly 3:47 p.m. Each object was assigned a number and Spoerri wrote a brief description of each object and the memories or associations it evoked. The descriptions cross-referenced other objects on the table which were related. The Topographie Anécdotée du Hasard was printed as a small pamphlet of 53 pages plus a fold-out map and index and was distributed as an advertisement for the exhibit. The Topographie Anécdotée du Hasard is more than just a catalogue of random objects, however. Read in its entirety, it provides a coherent and compelling picture of Spoerri's travels, friends and artistic endeavors. The Anecdote Topography of Chance has been called a quasi-autobiographical tour de force. In 1966, The Something Else Press in New York City published an English translation of the Topographie Anécdotée du Hasard by Emmett Williams, entitled An Anecdote Topography of Chance. Roland Topper added sketches of each object and additional annotations were added at random by Williams and others and by Spoerri himself. A number of appendices were added to the work and a greatly expanded index. The Topographie Anécdotée du Hasard became a cult classic and was published in German translation by Dieter Rath in 1968 as Anecdote zu einer Topographie des Zufalls. Rath increased in fact the volume of the book by almost a third by adding his own poetic annotations. In 1990, the original French version was reprinted by the Centre Pompidou in Paris, and in 1995, an expanded English version was published by the Atlas Press in London, with additional material and annotations, and all of Dieter Rath's texts. New Realism. Spoerri was one of the original signers of the manifesto creating the Nouveau Ra copyright-less art movement, an avant-garde endeavor begun in 1960. His use of everyday life as the main subject matter of his art reflects his involvement in the New Realism movement. Fluxus. Spoerri is also closely associated with the Fluxus art movement, a movement formed in the early 1960s, characterized by a strongly Dadaist attitude, whose participants were a divergent group of individualists whose most common theme was their delight in spontaneity and humor. It has been said that his anecdoted topography of chance seems perfectly to embody aspects of its spirit. Eat art. A major theme of Spoerri's artwork is food, and he has called this aspect of his work eat art. This is seen not only in his snare pictures of eaten meals, but in a variety of other contexts. For example, in 1961 he sold in an art gallery in Copenhagen store-bought canned food which he had signed and rubber-stamped "Attention, work of art." In 1963, he enacted a sort of performance art called Restaurant de la Galerie J in Paris, for which he cooked on several evenings. Art critics took over the role of waiters, playing on the idea of the critic bringing the art to the consumers and giving them an understanding of the work. On June 18, 1968, Spoerri opened the restaurant Spoerri in Darwin-Quartier-Seldorf, and on September 18, 1970, he opened the Eat Art Gallery upstairs. He also published in 1970 a diary of his life on the Greek island of Symi, in which he included numerous recipes of the dishes he ate there. Originally titled A Gastronomic Itinerary, it was later republished under the title Mythology and Meatballs. Subsequent work. Spoerri continued to make snare pictures, including snares of eaten meals, into the 1990s. He also has created assemblage works, mounting objects on reproductions of 19th-century medical illustrations as backgrounds. Spoerri has also produced serigraph and bronze versions of his works. Spoerri has led a nomadic life, living variously in Bern, Paris, the Greek island of Symi, Darwin-Quartier-Seldorf, Basel, Munich and Vienna. In 1997 he moved to the Tuscan town of Seggiano where he opened Il Giardino di Daniel Spoerri, a sculpture garden, where works by a number of artists are displayed. Exhibitions, 1992, Expo Euro Unregistered Trademark 92, Swiss Pavilion, Sevilla, 2001, Museum Jean Tingley, Basel, 2009, Ludwig Museum, Koblenz. References. Klaus Stefani, Daniel Spoerri and the Conception of Eat Art. A Oeil Tags Culture Euro and the Contemporary Art. In Studia Judaica, 14, 2006. Pages 129 to 144, 6 External links, John G. Hatch, On the Various Trappings of Daniel Spoerri, a lengthy critical essay on Spoerri, Daniel Spoerri's site with interactive map of Il Giardino di Daniel Spoerri, Sicilia Novero situates Spoerri's Eat Art within avant-garde engagements with food and consumption, Daniel Spoerri, Coincidences Master, Judith E. Stein, Spoerri Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Habitat, Freiburg Museum with Chronology, Daniel Spoerri on artfacts.net, French, Daniel Spoerri.